So the Liberals have survived 2 confidence votes on amendments to their motion for budget support, but those were just the first hurdles. They're now just 1 week away from the big vote on the budget. Mark your calendars here. It is Monday, November the 17th. Now, the floor crossing by Nova Scotia MP Chris d'Entremont on Budget Day, that does leave the Liberals just 2 votes shy of passing the budget in the House of Commons. So could Green Party leader Elizabeth May be one of those votes? I caught up with her earlier today. Green Party leader Elizabeth May joins me in studio. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you about an interaction you had yesterday with the Prime Minister right after the vote. I know that you've been trying to convey to him what you would like to see in the budget in order to gain your support. Were you able to do that last night?
Well, we're able to listen. I can talk to people, and I like people, and I've known Mark Carney since he was governor of the Bank of Canada. So it was nice to actually have a complete coincidental moment as he was leaving the chamber, and we ran into each other. And I said, I really would like to talk to you more. We've only had one chat, but I mean, there's intermediaries, there's people I pass messages through, but this was the first chance I've had since the budget was tabled to talk to him briefly. And I would say it went well as a good start to, I hope, other chats and other ways of communicating. And I am living in hope that I can vote for the budget.
What do you want to see in that budget in order for you to vote for it?
Climate action and protection of nature.
Specifically, though, in short, I know, but what is lacking there right now that has to be in there to get your vote?
There's no mention of the Paris Agreement and our ongoing commitment to meet our targets, which are legally binding. There is no mention of our commitment under the Biodiversity Convention to a target that was named after the host city, Montreal, to achieve 30% protection of nature by 2030. No reference at all. So it was shocking not to see the references, but then again to the specific programs, everything to do with climate in that budget was a cut. So eliminating the Greener Homes program, eliminating the oil and gas cap, eliminating the standalone municipal urban public transit funds. It could go on. I mean, there was good news in the creation of a Youth Climate Corps, but $20 million a year for 2 years is not more than a pilot project. So again, I need to see that our commitments remain commitments, because it's an obligation to the world. And specifically when the Liberals keep mentioning generational, there's generational equity, and we are not allowed as human beings to leave this for our grandchildren to live in an unlivable world. The planet's on fire. The budget doesn't suggest that it's aware, or that this government is aware of the urgency.
So I'm just trying to understand, you need to see that in writing, that they're aware of it, or that the commitment is still there?
They're committed.
Because I guess what I'm asking is, how do you know that they're not still committed? Even if it's not in the budget, do you think that that commitment still lives on from the past government?
Well, what I would say is it's very clear that Prime Minister Mark Carney has wanted to distance himself from many things associated with Justin Trudeau. That's their business. They're Liberals. I'm not a Liberal. But I am concerned as a Canadian. We played a good and positive role in the negotiations. Back in 1992, when it was Brian Mulroney, we were in the lead on climate work in treaties. In the Paris Agreement negotiations in 2015, we were a strong negotiator for tough targets, and we have made targets that are legally binding. And you know, before the budget came out, people were trying to pin the Prime Minister down on, are you still committed to the Paris targets? And he said, I'm not about targets, I'm about results. Right. So I have to say, the answers have not been, I mean, I'll take him at his word. If he says out loud, this country, particularly in writing in the budget, we remain committed to the Paris Agreement targets, which are, by the way, Mike, not net zero by 2050. Net zero by 2050 is fraud. Any target out to 2050 is not a real target, and it's not part of the Paris Agreement. We are committed to reductions that make a difference to ensure that we keep the planet habitable and retain human civilization. I'm not a doomsayer. I'm one of the few that would still say, we got time. We can do this. We can avoid the worst of climate crisis, but we can't do it if we kick this down the road, and we certainly can't leave it for our children.
So if that commitment appears in an amendment, then you're good for this budget?
I'm not going to put myself, in a box, because I've given them some very clear ideas of what I'd like, but you're in the ballpark of what I'd like. I don't want to be too many people say I don't want to negotiate in public. I do respect the fact that we're having conversations, and you're in the area of things we need to see to feel that I can cast the one green vote in the direction of supporting confidence in this government and in that budget. I would hope I'll be able to vote yes. Right now, I'd be a no vote.
Right now as well, the margin is narrowing in the House of Commons because of where votes are going or not going, and where MPs are going or not going. So you could be that one deciding vote. You've also said you don't want an election, but you don't want to abandon your grandchildren's future. So if that is the choice you're faced with this budget as it is right now, what do you do?
I do what I believe is the correct thing as a responsible grown-up for our kids and our grandkids. And I don't vote out of political expediency. I vote based on, no matter how hard it is, I'll vote for what I think is the correct choice for all Canadians. Canada doesn't benefit from climate crisis that we don't address. Last year it was $8.5 billion in insurable losses, and it's not going to get better this year, where thousands of Canadians had to relocate, some more than once because of wildfires. We have to be serious people, and we can address more than one crisis at a time. Trump is a crisis. The tariffs create a crisis. We can protect our economy, and we can protect our climate. So in some senses, the Liberals have the platitudes right. It's the details I don't like.
On the details, before I let you go, the government has said that their emissions cap, they're looking to possibly walk away from it in the event that they do have other measures in place that they say will essentially make it useless in a sense. When you consider that calculation, is that something that you can live with if they believe that there are other measures that will essentially leave it useless? Are you okay with walking away from an emissions cap?
It's not so much if they believe it. I'm agnostic as to measures. There's a lot of policies one could put in place to achieve our Paris targets still. What's important is if they're going to work and the government remains committed to the kind of political courage, political will that it takes to stick to a plan to ensure that we meet our Paris Agreement targets. That's what matters. And it's sometimes we've had leaders say we're going to do it this way, we're going to do it that way. Greens have remained flexible, willing to say, okay, we'll give you a chance to try that one out. But what we have right now appears to be not just walking, but running away from previous commitments and previous policies, and ones that make a ton of sense, like greener home grants, so people can reduce their energy costs. They talk about affordability, being able to get your electricity and your heating and cooling down to almost nothing through embracing renewable energy. Solar power is now coming in at less than 3 cents a kilowatt hour. People can put it on their own roofs. This is the kind of thing that makes sense, but is completely eliminated in that budget.
So canceling or not implementing the emissions cap is not a red, or should I say green line for you?
No, it's more about committing and being serious about bringing to the table all the ways in which we could meet those targets. One of those key things is mentioned in the introduction, but then doesn't have a solid commitment: a functioning east-west, north-south electricity grid that is 100% green and renewable electricity. Will bring down the electricity costs for every Canadian and work, but that takes not just having a bill that declares we're one economy. You actually have to work hard with each province and each utility and territory and bring to bear the efforts of leadership of a federal government to have a functional east-west, north-south electricity grid. It shouldn't be that hard. The European Union's done it with 23 separate sovereign nation states, and Canada doesn't. So there's things that would make it possible to believe that there's leadership in this country and political will to deliver for our kids a livable world. That's not too much to ask. And Indigenous peoples across the country are crying out for climate action. Communities, seniors, youth groups, everywhere I go, and I say, well, I guess I'm the last one who cares about climate. I was saying that on one of the buses around Parliament Hill today, and a security guard in a bus driver corrected me and said, I'm scared to death. I care. You know, I don't hear, certainly in my own community in Saanich Gulf Islands, voters there wouldn't have reelected me if they didn't believe that it matters that we not again have a heat dome where 619 British Columbians died in 4 days in 2021. We're still not putting money into adaptation. How do we prepare for climate change? How do we prepare for the things we can no longer avoid? And when wildfires are raging across Canada, and the best this budget can do is say we're going to lease 4 new planes for 4 years, nothing about a national firefighting force for training, for support for communities, for floods, for heat domes, for hurricanes, for extreme weather events. Didn't we learn anything from Hurricane Fiona? Didn't we learn anything from the kind of extreme weather events we're experiencing that are punishing to our economy, but traumatic for communities?
Unfortunately, we're going to have to leave it on that note. Green Party leader Elizabeth May, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Mike.